Hello everyone, and welcome to another game of World of Warships. Today's replay is from 6 of Spades, and he is in the Prinz Heinrich, a tier 7 German battleship. He is on map estuary in a 4-point domination game. So this is a tier 7 battle. He's also missed fully broadside New Orleans because he's in a German battleship. Anyway. So his top tier, which is lovely, there's no carrier, which is also lovely, there's a submarine, which is probably less lovely. But, you know, just something I guess you have to live with these days. Now, the friendlies are doing very well here on this flank. They might even be taking the A cap, although there aren't too many ships. We have in... what is that over there? In Atlanta? That's... suiciding for some reason. I mean, why would you take an Atlantic cube? This map isn't bad for an Atlantic. There are a lot of lovely islands there. It could have stayed here in the north, threatened with radar, with the shell arcs, could have like lobbed shells at all those enemies, and probably stayed completely undetected and safe. And instead, the Atlanta is charging into like 6 ships. I mean, it's amazing that it's still alive anyway. But be that as it may. 6 of Spades here is... well, there is a citadel. So he's got a good hit and he's going to make the turn before he goes into the island here. And he is just gonna push this flank. And the Atlanta is still alive. I mean... well, now it's no longer is. And it was even torpedoed instead of like... There are so many ships that could have one-shotted the Atlanta. And the Atlanta just kept living and pushing, which is insane. And then it got torn. I mean, I'm not sure what's sadder, that the Atlanta thought this was a good idea or that the enemy team wasn't even able to deal with it. But there we go. Now here is an Acaster, and I'm not sure why it decided to get detected there. Now it's smoking up. But the Prinz Heinrich has a Hydro. So he could definitely Hydro here, and I probably would, because, you know, might just be torpedoes coming his way. The Prinz Heinrich actually does have Hydro and torpedoes, which is a very strong combination for any brawler. Unfortunately, I personally haven't unlocked the Heinrich yet, although I might do it this week, so we'll see. I think I should be getting enough tokens with this week's personal challenges. Now, he still hasn't decided to Hydro. I mean, the Acaster was retreating, but we don't know if it hasn't come back or is trying to do any top shenanigans. There's also an Ober somewhere around. And, well, there is a New Orleans that's gonna sink pretty soon. Or maybe not. Well, he switched the secondaries, so they can finish it off. And his next salvo is probably gonna go into the Cavour. Well, we'll see if it's still broadside once his guns are reloaded. Now he's using a heal here, which makes sense. Still isn't hydroing though. I mean, the Acaster is coming back. The Ober is close enough that, you know, if the Ober, like, he's technically out of torp range, but if it hops this way and you're going closer to it, then you might be eating those. And... ow. There is the Hydro. A little bit late with it, but so far he's getting away with this. So the Cavour is gonna sink here. Hopefully, yeah. Nice. That leaves the Acaster, a Scharnhorst, and the Ober. So he's gonna angle against the Destroyer, which is getting Hydroed because the Destroyer didn't quite... well, I'm not sure. I mean, those Germans are still pretty new. Maybe he wasn't aware that there's a Hydro. But you definitely don't want to just sit in smoke when a Hydro battleship is pushing you. You gotta need to run away in time. Overall, it's not looking too bad. The friendlies are equal on ships, but they are ahead with 1 cap. Now on the left flank, the friendly ships are in full retreat because they're getting overrun, but the same is true for the enemies on this side. Now, there are two options, basically. He can, like, push the Scharnhorst. Or he could ignore the Scharnhorst and go back and defend. I mean, he can technically just push towards sea. There is a sub there fighting with a cruiser. Now, technically, if the sub knows what it's doing, the cruiser is kinda dead. Because, yeah, like, you can't currently dodge torpedoes in a cruiser. They track you too close to you. If you get double ping, you're basically screwed. So as a submarine, you just want to keep your distance, double ping, launch all of your torps. If the ping gets purged, then you double ping again. And you torp again. And then the cruiser is screwed just slightly later. But it looks like that submarine is... I mean, considering how they're maneuvering, I assume the submarine is detected right now, and I don't even know, does the Aoba have, like, anti-submarine planes, or does it launch from the back? Probably from the back, considering how it's maneuvering. So, that submarine might need some help. I think Six of Spades has decided that he's going over there to provide some assistance, and he's ignoring the Scharnhorst because, I mean, if the Scharnhorst is sailing towards the zone wall, it's not worth the time to chase it down. I mean, on the one hand, it's always a bit of a problem. If you have a battleship that escapes towards the zone wall there, because that battleship still threatens your broadside, so you wanna take it down. But it might take a long way to actually get rid of it. And the Aoba has submarine planes, I guess that's the question has been answered. Well, and in good old German battleship fashion, he only got 3 weapons. Where was I? Yes, the Scharnhorst. Ideally, you'd have like high explosive, you can just burn it down. If you can keep like the Scharnhorst on fire, then it's gonna be easy to deal with. If you're gonna do it with armor piercing, or well, less efficient high explosive, then it can survive for a long time. I mean, Scharnhorst guns aren't that threat. Well, I mean, they hurt on your broadside, I suppose, but they aren't gonna get those citadels if you're a battleship, so at least there is that. Now, speaking of citadels, they are unfortunately pretty much missing here. The friendly submarine has run out of, what is it, battery, diving capacity, oxygen these days. I think battery. But maybe they can save it. Come on, shells! Yeah, I mean... You know, I mean, that sub could have, when it still had capacity, if since it wasn't able to properly deal with the Aoba, it could have just dived and sailed towards allies, you know. Because if you completely dive, there is no way to be detected unless there's another submarine. So it could have just completely dived and then retreated towards allies and have been fine. But you know. So the friendlies are losing the B camp. They are currently taking Cedo. And ship-wise, it's pretty even. I mean, the enemy team has 1 more ship. The Scharnhorst has been dealt with, so finally that flank is cleared. And now, what Six of Spades wants to do here is probably wait. He's disabled his anti-air here because that might get him detected. Well, not detected, right? Those planes can spot him, but the enemy can see the shell traces. Of course, now he has to remember to turn on his secondaries again. Where was I? Oh, right. The friendlies are actually ahead, right? So they don't have to push anything. Now, being a lone battleship and pushing all of those enemies wouldn't be a good idea, so he's doing the right move here. He's just waiting, right? Especially like if that October Revolution wants to push him, that's nice. What he wants to do is he definitely wants to wait for reinforcements, and he wants to wait to see what the enemy does. Now the friendlies are the only one with a destroyer left, and that might just be crucial. He could try to intercept ships here with his torpedoes, or the Nicholas could go for a... Well, okay, there is a sub. If that sub wasn't there, I would have said the Nicholas' best course is to grab A and keep the points going. Is that October Revolution just gonna come around here like this? Possibly. I mean, he knows he's hydroed. I guess he doesn't know who is hydroing him. But then again, even if it was the Omaha has torps too. Meanwhile, so Spades is using his planes there. And, well, unfortunately he took a big hit, but the enemy definitely took a bigger hit. Also, like, the UI for using those planes is a little bit shit, especially when there are islands in the way. He only got one depth charge hit on the sub, and it looks like the sub is now coming this way. This is obviously not ideal, because he's way too broadside, right? If the sub just gets... I mean, he doesn't even need a ping at this point. Just single on. Well, he does need a ping because he's too deep, and the torps need to rise. Damage con is ready though, so I guess. If the sub pings, yeah, I would damage con immediately in this case, because those... Well, actually, those torps are high enough. You know, I thought those torps would launch too deep, because the sub dived. But hey. Guess that's me. So anyway, we don't know if that sub is still charging in. The other enemies here are a little bit more careful. They are also hydroing, so the next torp ambush will be harder. The next charge of submarine planes is, well, anti-submarine planes is ready. Unfortunately, though, those anti-submarine planes can't be launched directly next to your ship. So the sub's now too close. But the sub's also completely out of diving capacity. And it's, you see, it's already rising. And it's also beachy. So, good night, sub. Here we go. That's one sub devastated. So, you know, the friendlies are now doing pretty well on points. They're actually one ship ahead. Well, I mean, okay, König is going to. And, ooh, that Heinrich's gonna hurt. Well, it could have been worse. Now, obviously, 6 of Spades doesn't have any heals left, so his lower health is gonna stick with him for the remainder of this game. Which is not very comforting when you see that this is an enemy Heinrich who hasn't taken a single hit so far. But also the problem is that, I mean, there is only like about 4.5 minutes left. But the enemies are flipping the decap. Now this Nicholas is trying to help out with a smokescreen here. The problem is, well, the hydro. So he can't hide. Well, okay, maybe the hydro is no longer a problem, and that Celebs is also no longer a problem. Now for some reason the Cavour has now decided to, like, you definitely don't want to push a Heinrich in a Cavour. That Heinrich has good secondaries, it has torpedoes, not to mention that he's pushing right in front of the enemy Heinrich, so he's gonna be in a crossfire. What the friendlies really want here is a camp. The Nicholas could... the Endracht is also still alive. We don't know exactly where it is. The Nicholas, it could just go for A and play for points. Might be a reasonable choice. It could try to YOLO a Heinrich. Bit of a risky choice. If it thinks... Well, the Endracht is so low, if they can sink the Endracht, maybe there is going to be an opening. The problem is... Yeah, the Omaha is also dead. It's a 2 versus 2, but that Heinrich is too healthy, right? The Heinrich at B is something that they might be able to sink, but the Heinrich at D, not so much. That's full health. I mean, a full Nicholas YOLO might do the trick. But that might be hard to pull off. Yeah, the Heinrich is coming. And it's also coming for this camp, right? The friendly points lead isn't big enough to survive on the number of camps they have. So 6 of Spades is going for it. If he just stays here, the Heinrich will come from the rear. The best he can hope for is sinking this. I mean, if he pulls it off, sinking this Heinrich and surviving into B, that could be game winning, but it's gonna be somewhat unlikely. I mean, they both have torps, unless the torp launchers have been destroyed. Now the Nicholas is coming around to help here. Okay, shells. This is gonna be important. Damn it, he's still alive. And he's still alive! Oh no! Okay, he's on 1,000 hit points. No, wait, the Nicholas can finish then. That was a tough situation to be caught in. As you can see, the enemy Heinrich has arrived and is now engaging from the rear. He didn't have time to play this any safer. He had to just go for it and pray. And I mean, the enemy has been dealt with, but unfortunately, you know. Unfortunately, the points are just not in the friendly's favor. And the Nicholas is camping here. I mean, we can beat this up here also a bit. Also, I'm terribly sorry that the camera position might not be the best here. Like, the camera in replays is just like really fucked up. And it sometimes also does things that you don't want it to do. But anyway, so the Nicholas is trying to go for the decap. Unfortunately, time just isn't gonna be enough, right? The enemy is overtaking them. His only chance was to YOLO the Heinrich. And I don't think there was enough time for that anyway. So, unfortunately, this was a defeat, but 6 of Spades managed to get more experience than anyone on the winning team. 1,665 experience. And no enemy managed that. Isn't that just sad? He also achieved a Confederate, a Kraken, 3 devastating strikes, 3 close quarters experts, a high caliber, and he sunk 8 enemy ships. If you sink 8 out of 12 and you still lose, that's gonna sting. So amazingly played game there. Very fun to watch, and unfortunately just still not enough to win a battle. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you next time.